Oh. Suppose. Hold on, let me make sure everybody gets in okay. What up, what up, what up, what up? What the fuck was that sound? Let me make sure everybody gets in okay. ¿Cómo estás usted? Yo, what is this shit you're trading over here, Steve-O? Oh, hold on. I see it. Everybody in? Let's do what we do. Hey, Thayer, what up, baby? Let me see what you got. Oh, Jerry with the bank stock, huh? Look, Jerry, this wall is okay. Bank stocks stink to trade. You know what? Banks stink to trade. You know what? Trading like bank stocks is like. You ever like, you know, when like, you turn like into your 40s and like you meet some girl and you're like, she's okay. She's like a 6, but has a nice personality. I'll marry her. I'm getting old. That kind of thing. It's like you kind of just give up on life of finding that notebook type of love. That's what trading bank stocks is like. It's like kind of like, hey, I don't really got much else going on. It's good enough. And we don't want to do that, right? We got to be better than that. We got to be better than that. We want to find that notebook type of love. We have to. Does that make sense? Yeah, we don't want to be we don't want to be messing around, right? We don't want to be messing around just with the hey, she's got a great personality kind of thing. Stop, right? We want that firecracker, right? Yeah, baby. We want hand jobs in the back of the bus, right? 5th grade style. All right. Let's get to work. Everybody good? Everybody juicy? Everybody got their coffee? Huh? A little tea? A little water? Working off your hangovers? All right, let's get to work. Let's do the Lord's work today. All right. We're doing the Lord's work in the devil's playground. So first, as always, we want to take a look at the general markets and see what the heck is going on. So you can see here, right, the QQQs is on a rampage. Now, normally I'd come in, you get a 4-day run like this, especially yesterday with such a big hunk and squeeze. I normally would be preparing the short bus. Preparing the short bus for this thing, but the short bus has been retired for now. You know, the short bus, the short bus in general has been a tricky ride. So I normally come in real hot on the shorts on kind of a day 4 of a move. This market has been punishing shorts. I'd rather just miss a pullback than try to sit there and time, right? The short on something that might last just for a day or two. You know what I mean? And even when we've had like pullbacks, they've been really light. So, you know, in general, the playbook is when you have something like this, you hop on the short bus, right? You put your hard hat on, you hop on the short bus. But today, I think we stay away from it in case we get one of those kind of Friday squeezes. Now, we may pull back, right? And we may miss some of that. But in general, what's been happening is when the market's been pulling back, even intraday, and the ATR has been used up, the market ends up kind of squeezing and grinding its way back, you know, on a lot of names. So you see that a lot, right? Like, you know, a couple days ago, right? You got like a pullback here and you're like, oh, here we go, right? Here's the red roll. Here is the destruction, right? Here's the lives ruined and dreams crushed. And then next thing you know, you start to grind your way back into the close. And we've been getting that a lot. So we got to be a little bit careful. So I think today, with it being Friday, it's raining out. I'm gonna stay away from the short bus because the short bus get me in a lot of damn trouble over the years when the market gets this hot and you just want to short because the market's up too much. That doesn't mean much, right? All right, good. Now let's take a look at the general market indexes and just get a gauge of kind of what's happening here. What you want to do is always run, right, a 5-day sort to kind of see where, right, the heat is on the market. So if we look here, kind of what's been riding the last 5 days, and this is a good sign, right? The T210 rate, that's a measure of market breadth. You're up 30% in the last 5 days, right? Market breadth is the number of stocks that are participating in a run, and we've had a broad-based participation. Remember when everybody was talking about, like, hey, all the gains in the market are just in, right, Apple, Microsoft, Tesla, Meta, right, Google, like the big horsemen? Well, now all of a sudden, right, that's changed. It's not just your big fang bang stocks going, right? Now you have a broad-based participation happening, and we're starting to reach some extreme levels of market breadth that we'll have to be careful of. And I think that's when you want to really start to short, right? So when this is the T218's percentage stocks over its 40-day moving average. When you start to see this getting into the 80s, and if we got into, say, a 90 spot, which we haven't been in a long time, but if we got into these 80s, maybe between 80 and 90, that's the spot where you want to come in hot on some shorts. And so if we're looking at a market breadth in a couple different ways, the T2108, right, this is the percentage stocks over its 200-day moving average, right? This was like down into the 30s. Now you're at 60, right? The T2108 is at almost 80. And then this is the ratio that you really want to see, right? Like you want to see how like the number of breakouts every day compared to the breakdown. So you got 4% breakdowns, 50, 90, 90, right? And then now you got 500, 500, 500. So the ratio is 5-to-1 in the last so many days. That's really good. So that's a broad-based market run. Now let's take a look, right? What else is starting to go? The ARK Nation. Kathy Johnson is flashing her lady parts at the market now, saying, look at me, because all of a sudden you got a big base breakout. This is the number one pattern that's been working in this market of the last 6 months, right? Which is the tank, the big base breakout setup, like 6 months, 1 year, big monster cock base. And then you come out of that base. Now you're starting to get into these next phases, right? So Kathy Johnson's laying it out. She's flashing her lady parts at the market, saying, come at me. And that's a good thing we want to see. So now this thing is super extended, right? So we have to be careful. If you're riding in hot on a bunch of Kathy Johnson stocks, they may pull back a little bit. And, but that doesn't mean the end of the world. Like, nice retest of 22 would be a pretty hot setup. So just something to be mindful of, obviously with Tesla and Coin and some of these names that she's been rolling in, this is a natural thing. But you want to see, right? You want to see these kind of things. If you're a bull, right? If you're a bull, you got to ride into it. This is bots. It's the artificial intelligence, robotics thing. You're coming out of range over here, right? The SMH is breaking out. So you got breakouts everywhere. The question is more of like, we are just so on a short-term basis, we're very, very overbought, right? Very, very overbought. So like everybody wants to trade, Bitcoin stocks and stuff like that right now. But look, are you really going to come in on day 1, day 2, this is a rest day, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? Are you going to come in hot on Riot on a day 7 of a move? That seems risky, right? That seems real risky. Like that to me, normally I'd be shorting the shit out of this thing, right? But it's been a tough market to short, and I ain't riding the short bus unless I see something really juicy, right? So like, you see this is the top of the Bollinger Band, you're at 80 stochastics, like look how many days in a row you've been just riding up to 90. This was an ultimate swing trade. For those of you who caught it, I had a whole fuckload of this riot. I had like 250 contracts on this thing at 12, and I added at 14. I still pikered it. I think I actually sold this day. Piker life, man. Piker is my name. All right. It's not Desai. Piker is my name. Fucking A. I left a beach house or two on the table to last week or so. But that's okay, right? That's okay, mate. That's okay. So I don't know if you want to come in hot. I don't know if you want to come in hot on these. Like, look at this Hut Nation, right? The Hut Nation was also, right? This is a beauty. No getting around it. The Hut Nation's a beauty, but dude, you can't come in on this with this kind of extension and then be like, yeah, man, let's fucking shred, right? Like you can't, there's a difference. You can shred or get shredded, right? So if you come in hot, but you're the last man to the gangbang, then you're not shredding, you're getting shredded, right? And that's the difference in the stock market. That's the difference between making millions of dollars and making no money, right? It's the same thing. You're shredding or getting shredded, right? It's just a couple letters difference. But one means you're laying it deep, and the other one means, right, you're crying in your sleep. And that's a no buenos, right? That's no buenos. That's Spanish for no good for those of you that are unlearned, right? So we got to be a little bit careful. We don't want to come in on these things. I think we probably leave this alone. Coin, you may get a red to green on this, but I would not be surprised if you did a little bit of a failed follow through too. This will be a read and react play. You may get one more short squeeze out of this thing, but the big hairy Indian butt is, it'd be better for this if you had an inside day, right? Where you're just kind of marinating, going sideways for a little bit, and then you go. But we never get what we want, right? So we'll have to be a little bit careful on this. Let's go in and take a look at the gappers. Let's take a look and see what kind of earnings plays we have, and then we'll start to move on from there. Guys, this is going to be very, very important 2 weeks for you guys. So we are just starting up earnings season. Earnings season starts with the banks, and then it goes with Alcoa, and then you start to dive in deep on all the tech stocks and all these kind of things over the next few weeks. The number one time to make money is earnings. The number one catalyst for stocks to make big runs is earnings. And so we want to be really sharp, right? So do not blow your mental capital today. You got to be super sharp for the rest of the next 2 weeks. This is the time where you actually might want to get some sleep and, do those kind of really sad sack things, because this is the time to make money. If you think about every single stock that's gone on a big run, right? What was the catalyst in May for every stock that went on a big run? That's an earnings catalyst, right? This gap here, what is catalyst is that? That's an earnings catalyst, right? This is called post-earnings announcement drip syndrome, right? PEEPS. What is this? Why is NVIDIA so hot? This gap here is earnings, right? So we are going to get a whole host of new stocks that will be announcing earnings and having these gaps up or down. We don't know. And then we'll be able to find the next big runners. Usually the ones that were hot in the previous ones, there'll be new ones. There'll be new leaders, new things going, right? As these ones are already up 100, 200, 300%, we'll be finding new ones to go. And that's going to be really that's an awesome thing, right? Discovering new stocks, discovering what's going to be hot, right? That's where we want to be, baby. That's where we want to be. So let's take a look, see what kind of gappers we got. Before we even do that, let's take a look at some of these bank stocks real quick. And there's a whole host of small cap stocks going. This market's getting so frothy right now, right? JP Morgan, right? You can see here. So these are all good for the market, right? So JP Morgan got earnings out. You're up 3%, right? See Wells Fargo up 3.5%. I hate to see bank stocks go because these are dirty bastards, right? Like, it's much better when these things go down, but what we can't always get what we want, right? So this is going to be good for the markets too. Like these, with all this bank news that's been out in the last few months, the fact that these things are gapping up and kind of moving around it's a good thing, right? If you're a bull. Let's get our music. America, baby. Oh, all right, let's get into some of these gappers. Rule number 1: no small caps on Fridays, right? So you got AIMD. This is a gapper on some bullshit. Look at this. That probably doesn't have any news up. Man. Junk. No small caps on Fridays. See, this is pretty hot here, right? You got a gapper that's coming out of range. It's like an IPO stock. You got 3 million shares in volume. This might get picked up. You don't want to chase these things, though, right? See if it ORBs and goes. But no small caps on Fridays for me. I'm a degenerate, but not when it comes to stocks. PRFX, this is also right. IPO breakout. Ooh, EDTX. Whoa, why are these all looking the same? Why are these things not flipping over? Oh, hold on here. My TC2000 still. Hold on 1 second. Let me refluff this thing. No small caps on Fridays, Corey. That's a great question. It's not for any technical reason beyond one thing. When you trade small caps on Fridays, right? Small caps is one of those things like you make money, and then one day you're like knee deep, 10,000 shares in one of these things, and the stock gets rubbed. And now, like, it's down like 20%. Like you're looking this way, you're looking that way, scratching your balls. Next thing you know, you're down like 20, 30% on this thing, right? You've been rolling in all your profits on these small cap. So then you've been doing your best, right? You're like, man, I've been working hard. I've been studying. I've been trading good. And then now you do small caps on Fridays. So now you got small caps on Fridays. You got rubbed. You lost 5 grand, 10 grand, 2 grand, whatever it is to you. So you've been doing good, though. You've been like being nice to your kids, right? Feeding your dog, paying your taxes, being good to your wife. But now and you've been staying away from all your bad habits, right? Now you lost 5 G's. All of a sudden, like you're supposed to be coming home from work and you're like, man, I lost 5 grand. I need to relax a little bit. So then, you stop by one of your old stomping grounds. You're at the Irish bar and you're sitting there with Mo, right? The old bartender. And you're like, hey, Mo, man, I need a Guinness. I lost some money today. I can't go home. My wife's going to kick my ass. So now you're sitting there and you're having this Guinness with Mo. You have one beer, right? No big deal, right? It's just a beer. You're a gentleman, right? A man of honor. And you've been staying away from these bad habits. You have a beer and you're like, oh man, that's a nice beer. So then you're like, hey, Mo, give me another one. But you know what? Make this a little bit of a whiskey, right? So next thing you know, you're on a budget because you lost money. So you got to drink like Maker's Mark. Man, Maker's Mark not very good, right? So now you're drinking this Maker's Mark. You're like, ooh, this is nice. And so now you have a Maker's Mark. And you're sitting there drinking this Maker's Mark, right? Chasing it down with the Guinness. And then you're like, hey, Mo, you know what? Let me bum a ciggy, right? I haven't smoked in a couple of years, but let me bum a ciggy. It's a bad day, right? So now you bumming a ciggy, drinking a Maker's Mark. You're like, hey, give me another one, right? Next thing you know, your wife's blowing you up on the phone. You're like, shit, I got to get out of here, right? Mo, here's the tab. So you're driving home. Next thing you know, you drive by a rub and tug place. And you're like, I stayed away from this kind of place, but it's a bad day. Let me get into this. Next thing you know, you're at the rub and tug place and you're like, oh man, should I do this, not do this? And you're sitting there going in a circle and you're like, you know what? I deserve this. I lost $5,000 on AIMD. Now I need a release, right? So now you're sitting there, but you're also a little bit drunk And now this old Chinese lady's just hacking at you. She's hacking at you. Your wife's texting you, and you're like, right? So now you get home, you leave the rub and tug place, and you're like, okay, driving home. And then you're like, you know what? I'm going to the suburbs. Maybe I got to make maybe a little pit stop and get myself some weeds, right? So you go take a right instead of a left. Now you're in the city, right? You're in a little bit of a shady area, and you're buying yourself some weeds. And you're like, okay, I'm going to do a little bit of weed. So now you're sitting there like, hey, kiddo, man, I need some of that Chiba, right? I need a little of that Chiba. So you're sitting there getting that Chiba. Next thing you know, why you getting the Chiba? Some other kid steals the rims off your car, puts them on bricks. So now your car has lost its wheels. Now you're sitting there smoking the weed. You look over, your car's got no damn wheels. Now you got to call your wife, tell her to pick you up, all because you did small caps on Friday, right? So now your wife picks you up. She's like, where's your car? Oh, it's over there. So now your wife's smacking you. And then you're sitting there like, what's that smell? And your wife's like, nothing. And then you're like, why's your hair all messy, huh? And she's like, nothing. And you're like, what's that smell? It smells like sex in here. And your wife's like, nothing. It's not a big deal, right? Now your wife's yelling about the car, about the money you lost. You're going home. You get home, and all of a sudden the window to your room is open. And you're sitting there like, why is the window to the room open? It's 90 degrees. The bugs will get it. And so you kind of cruising up there. All of a sudden you see a sock, a random sock, a sock with maybe like Christmas lights on it, right? A tree on it. And you're like, that's not my sock. Then your wife is smiling. Her hair is messy. All of a sudden things are starting to come together. And you're like, what did you do? And she's like, I did Don, because he's a real man. He makes money in the stock market. That's why you don't trade small caps on Fridays. ¿Comprendes? It's a very important lesson. It's a very important lesson. All right. You guys distracted me, man. I don't know why you guys make me do this stuff. All right, let's go in. Hey, a couple of people have been asked about Nikola. Ooh, that's nice, right? This goes with the EV theme. They actually had a PR out yesterday. Beatrix Sign Hydrogen Supply. This stock is a zero for the most part, but you can get nice squeezes on something like this. You can trade it, frankly, if you want to. Nothing wrong with that one. I'd roll with it. No small caps for me, but this is not technically a small cap. It tends to move a little bit more linear. You could roll with it. SAI, ooh, blast from the past. Let me see. That's an AI stock. I wonder if any of the other ones are going. No. Chunk. Ooh, new way. See, we're getting all the old fun names are starting to get picked up here, right? Man, you could roll with them, but that thing trades like shit. It doesn't have any liquidity. Butt plug's at the 200-day moving average, right? Bank industry, chunk. Banks. All right. That's enough for the earnings plays, right? Only a couple of these things that are setting up. Now, let's go into the regular watch list, all right? I got a host of these bad boys that are looking zesty, calientes, all right? Let's start with best to worst. Right? Big breakout yesterday. Day one of the move, past resistance. Now, let's see if this thing takes out previous day's range. We'll get a day two play on it. May need to build over it, but man, when you goes, it really goes. Look at the MPC here. Yesterday, I had a couple levels drawn out, and it just ripped through them before you could even do anything. It was incredible, right? So this thing's got good God-fearing Christian range. Man, Top Gun, man. It never gets old. Number one. ION2, it actually had a downgrade and it got bought up pretty quick. We've got a spot here 1480. That's nice, right? 1480. This may go right off the gap, right off the bat. Ooh. Man, I like that, right? Keep an alert right here. You may need to even preempt it, because I think what's happening in this market, guys, is when you have levels on a stock that line up with the daily chart, the algos are coming in real hot and pushing it right through, and you're getting these like huge candles. So you have to sometimes preempt it a little bit with maybe a little bit of a starter position, and then when it breaks, like you have to market order that shit like boom, right? And you got to lay it on, because they're just pushing right through so fast. And IONQ is notorious for getting like huge candles and then just dumping. So just be mindful. We've seen this like quite a few times. You know, you get like these monster candles and it dumps. So you gotta push it through, and then only hold if it actually stays above this level and builds. Roblox had after this big push here, you've had an inside day, two inside day. Inside day pattern is on a day trade side, the second best pattern that's been working in the markets this year. You get a big push. Inside day means a narrow range day after the big push, right? And then you get a show and go right after. Watch this 45 range. They may come in hot and take that thing out right away. The AMD, no buenos. And Tesla had a big end of day squeeze. This might, the way they pushed NVIDIA yesterday, I don't know who they is, but right, the way they pushed NVIDIA yesterday into the close, right? You had this level here, right? The all-time high kind of level. The way they pushed this thing, NVIDIA is a little bit of a cult stock. I'm thinking they might come in and push this Tesla, this 280. I think this 280 is going to be a spot. If it takes out this 280, this is a 1 hour chart, takes out 280, then you get 284 right in sight. And then, if you take out the 284, then then you're free balling, baby. Then you're free balling. It's a buenos. It's a buenos. Watch that 280. So I think the play on this, right? And a lot of this could depend on the market too. Like if the market dumps off, which it could, right? Then this will be probably a dud. But if the market holds, we do a little starter at the red to green spot. If it builds, right? Then we start building up into it. We can use the options, right? You can use the options. I do maybe like 280 calls, whatever. And I put the strike out. I wouldn't do July 14th. They'll decay too fast, right? So go in, go in like maybe the July 23rd, and then start to get this thing juicy. Does that make sense? Man, those are expensive though, huh? We might have to do the July 14th. I hate paying that much money. We can do. For most of you guys, you should just step it out the week out, because they decay too fast. But do 280s, right? And then you may be able to get this thing shreddy McGee. All right. Now let's talk about some other stocks here that I like. Right. Let's go from best to worst. We got a Netflix, right? This is the very similar setup to NVIDIA, right? You got this flat top breakout. It's actually pretty tight here. I think we want to hit this thing on the first pull. It's already pushing, fuckers. I don't know why they do this in the pre-market, right? But that thing, we want to hit the first pull on this bad boy. Twilly ho, right? You got one test, two tests. This is the third test. It is a little bit loose going into it. That's be my worry. We may need an inside day on it, but I do love the daily on that. I'd be prepared for maybe an inside day on this. Let the 90 EMA tighten up. but I think that one's got a chance. We already went over Roblox. Oh, and I love this net. I've been waiting on this one for a while. All right. It just needs that 9 EMA to kind of just curl a little bit under. You know, if it starts to build on the intraday, it should get there. And that thing is ready to take. Good. Hey, for those of you guys that are into the crypto stocks, you know, one of these miners that's actually taken a little bit of a breather has been this SDIG. I would keep an alert about 10 and some 990, 10 zone. Start to come out of that bad boy. You can see here, this is hourly chart. I set an alert. Just right click on your TC2000. You can set alert. Boom. You win this thing, right? You see coins already setting up here. This is a longer term breakout I like, but let this rest out a couple days too. So let's go back through this here real quick. This, by the way, this looks like a little bit of a swing trade. I don't think you can day trade that. It's too the ATR too small. Let's go back through this. Jump. Next. All right, these are the faves. I like this one too, but it may need a break. Oh, by the way, this looks like a little bit of a swing trade. Check this out. All right, it may need a couple days to still marinate, but you got test. That 30 spot is going to be huge. Yeah, you can't day trade this one either. It's too slow. Only 80 cents ATR. More of a swinger. Yeah, Roku had 2 inside days too, but they've been like kind of sloppy ones. You may need a couple more days with this 9 EMA Titan. All right, so let's go back through this just for more. Netflix, we got you for a day 2. ION2. We got the Netzilla. You got Roblox. I got AMD on the list, but this thing moves like shit. I don't know if that's, I give it a B+. And my thinking is just it may just get pushed up because they're pushing all these semis up. This rounding pattern. Not my fave, but it's nice. Where do you know? Let me see. A CCL? Ew. Yeah, you are in the 20 SMA on this. It could remount here. Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to it, but for me, that looks more like maybe a swinger than a day trader. All right, let's take a look here. Guys, do not be surprised if the Qs has at some point today a little bit of a rub. It may not last long, but there might be like it'll be enough to ruin your day. So what I mean by that is the more and more overbought the market gets, the more you get like every day, like an intraday, just like out of nowhere dump. And it gets bought up. But what often happens is that you just get this intraday dump and they're pretty sharp because you're getting so overbought. So everybody's got the fingers on the trigger and it fucks up your day. You either give back all your profits from the morning or it puts you in the hole, right? Because like you're adding while the market's at highs. And then it just dumps out of nowhere and you're like, fuck, right? All my gains are gone. And so now you're in this cycle, right? Trying to get your money back. And that's going to happen every day. The market goes up, the more and more likelihood that those will happen once a day, right? Just like even a couple of days ago, right? The market's just hanging and you're like minding your own business, doing some trading. I'm just doing a little bit of that trading. And then next thing you know, right, it's like, wham. And it didn't last long, right? It was like 30 minutes, but like it was enough where like all the stocks dumped pretty good. And then you're like sitting there, right? You might be in the hole a little bit. And as you get more and more extended and more overbought, those will happen in increasing frequency where you get like dumps out of nowhere. And then they end up getting bought. So then you end up selling it low and then right, you chase it back high and you get stuck in a weird spin cycle. So don't be too greedy today. You know, make sure like you're coming in and you just have a good handle on things. You can, CBNA is okay, but after that kind of dump it things, you may need a much longer breather. I wouldn't be surprised to see a little Friday squeeze on it, but not my favorite out of this, you know, setups. RXT, Rackspace. Yeah, I mean that type of setup is working. Not much liquidity in it, but yeah, I could see that. I mean, that's the setup, right? That's been working the most. Good. Let's start building out our 6 windows layouts here, guys. All right, so let's make these. So we got you. All right, let's add in the Netflix. All right, we want to add in IO and Q. Next. And we'll keep coin. And then let's go to the second one. Let's go number 2. You want to go Roblox. All right. AMD. Tesla. All right, we got UPST, Google even, right? Some daily traders. There's Google. Looks like it's about to break out. Yeah, UPST is a daily trader first, but it's super extended. You know, NVIDIA is a daily trader for us. You know, you can go Meta, you know, some of these names, Joby even. Good. All right, let's do the Lord's work, man. We're doing the Lord's work in the devil's playground, man. You know how this goes. All right, rock and roll, man. Hey, first, word to the wise. This has been a hot week. Actually, it's been a hot 2 weeks, right? What is very, very common for people is to give up, right? Give up your gains in a day or two sometimes. When the market gets increasingly hot and you don't take the money out of your account, or you don't take the profits out, you just kind of keep building, and you trade bigger and bigger size. What ends up happening is it just takes one day to dump all your money, right? It just takes one day to dump all that money. So first of all, keep taking money out of your accounts. It's a good time to wire out, right? You should wire out every week anyways, but it's a good time to wire out, good time to ACH out. Don't pyramid up your size to the point where just one down day takes away all your profits, right? You don't want to get into that spot. All right, let's do what we do, which is the do.